Matthew Stafford overrated or underrated?
He's overrated. I understand, like, say, well, how is he rated is the first thing you have to, but he's overrated. He's a good quarterback, but he's overrated.
Man, Max Kellerman does not disappoint in disappointing me. That video came out over a year ago, and today I would love to talk about why Matthew Stafford is one of, if not the most underrated quarterback in the last decade. Let's start with the obvious, at least to me. His arm talent is incredible. For example, last year in just 8 games, he placed 19th in money throws with 14, meaning throws that require a lot of skill or athleticism or important throws in the clutch. Stafford's strongest asset, in my opinion, is how good he is at throwing deep balls. In his last full season, he placed 5th in the league in deep ball completion percentage at 42%. And this is solely because his arm strength is top 3 in the league, up there with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. One of my favorite highlight videos I've ever seen, which will be in the description, is ignore Matthew Stafford throws that if Mahomes made, the NFL would go ballistic over. The reason I love that video is because it just shows the point that Stafford is underrated. He consistently makes great clutch throws whenever and wherever he needs to. The thing about Mahomes is it's hilarious because it is so true. If Mahomes made one of those throws, which he has and will continue to do, like Stafford did in that video, the NFL, along with many other pages, will be posting it all over their Instagram. The amount of throws he makes into tight coverage, along with the throws that in general are just hard to make, is insane. In that 2018 season, he also had an accuracy rating of 3.0 out of 4, which was 7th in the league. Saying all this information, I don't think anyone is saying Stafford is a bad quarterback. However, I think critics are saying that he's not a great quarterback and not a good winner and or not clutch. 34. 34 is the number of game-winning drives Stafford has had in his career. Yeah, crazy to think about, right? Keep in mind, that is 13th all time. When it matters most, Stafford has proven to come through in the clutch to help his team win. If the Lions lose a close game, it most likely is not his fault. But not always. Going off of that, Stafford is on the Lions, a team that does not get a lot of coverage due to how bad the franchise has been recently, and actually its whole existence. They made 2 players who were top 5 talent at their position all time retire early because they do not want to play for them. Something funny that shows how dysfunctional the Ford family is, they owe Calvin Johnson $1 million and refuse to pay him. You guys are billionaires. This is like pocket change. Just pay him his money. For God's sakes, you ruined his career. Just pay him. Sorry about that small rant. Let's get back to the winning thing with Stafford. He is a winner. I don't care what anyone says he is. The game-winning drives proves that and that he is clutch. But you may say his career record is 69, 79, and 1. He's made the playoffs 3 times and lost all 3 games. How can you say he's a winner? The reason Stafford does not have a good record is not his fault. It's the front office's fault. To begin, he has 3 mediocre at best coaches in Jim Schwartz, Jim Caldwell, and Matt Patricia. Caldwell had a respectable record of 36 and 28. Not the best record, but compared to the other 2, it seems like a Hall of Fame amount of wins to them. Matt Patricia, as of right now, is not an awful coach, but he's not the right coach for the Lions. I do not think he was ready to become a head coach when he was hired, and was best fit as the defensive coordinator of the Patriots because of how good of a defensive coordinator he was and just the situation. But as a head coach, he has been nothing but bad in the wins column, winning 9 out of his 32 games, and they still have him as the coach. Good job, Lions. His offensive coordinators have not been the best. He has had 4 in his 11 seasons, and the only good one was Jim Bob Cooter. Not because he was great at his job, he just has a really cool name. That's it. Now, we can't judge new offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell because he has only had Stafford for 8 games, so he is out of the picture. But the other 3 have not really done anything and basically kept their job because of Stafford and Calvin Johnson, except for Cooter, who only coached Johnson for some of Calvin Johnson's last season. Stafford has never had a great coaching situation, and that really has taken a toll on the winning column for the Lions and himself. If Stafford had a good coach and coordinator, I think the Lions could have had a great passing game, but that's it. No running game whatsoever. While Stafford has been the quarterback of the Lions, he's had 1 1,000-yard rusher being Reggie Bush in 2013. Joique Bell led the team in rushing one year. When the Lions finally get a 1,000-yard rusher, or even a good running back committee, which they may have right now with Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift, I think the offense will be top 10 in the league, but who knows when that will happen. The running game has been bad for a multitude of reasons. Injuries to players like Kerryon Johnson this year. The offensive line has been inconsistent throughout his time in Detroit, but you can't expect an offensive line to be great for 11 years. But the biggest issue is the lack of talent recognition the front office has. Not just at running back, but offensive players as a whole. To switch up the topic, I'm now going to be talking about how the GMs of the Lions have been really bad at drafting since Stafford's been in the league. The same year they took Stafford, they drafted Brandon Pettigrew, tight end out of Oklahoma State, and in his 7 seasons in the league before leaving the league in 2015, he had 2,965 yards and 17 touchdowns. So there's one bust drafted by the Lions. Then in the next year, they took running back Javid Best, who only lasted 2 real seasons in the league. Enough said. In 2014, they drafted Eric Ebron number 5. A tight end at number 5. First off, that's just not smart to take a tight end that early. But hey, people said it was scary to take running backs in the top 5, so stuff changes. But still, I don't think it was the smartest decision. Nowadays, he is not a bad starting tight end, but for the Lions, he was pretty bad. In his 4 seasons with the Lions, he had 2,070 yards and 11 touchdowns. Yes, 11 in 4 years. So he was nothing close to a real weapon for the Lions. Was he given the best opportunity? Besides his 3rd season? No, not really. But in his 2nd season, he had 70 targets. In his 4th, he had 86. So he definitely could have done more with that volume in the 14 and 16 games he played in those 2 seasons. Going on to the next offensive draft bust, we have Laken Tomlinson. During the 2017 season, he lost his starting job to rookie Graham Glasnow and was almost waived. Yeah, a first-round pick almost waived 3 years in. Let that sink in. He was traded to the 49ers and has not been horrible for them. Definitely better than in Detroit. However, Tomlinson was not worth the first-round pick, considering that other guards like Mitch Morse, who I believe is now a center, and Ali Marpet were taken in the 2nd round. So again, great job, Detroit. And last, but not least, we have TJ Hawkinson, who is going into his 2nd year, so I don't really want to judge him, because he's a rookie tight end, and like Ebron, it takes a lot longer for tight ends to develop compared to other positions. But last year, he was a disappointment, especially being taken so high at pick number 8. In 7 starts, 12 total games, he had 367 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he definitely did bad, but maybe he will develop quicker, or hopefully before he leaves the team, unlike Ebron. In those 11 years, out of all the offensive players they drafted in the 1st round, not including Hawkinson in total, or as a bust, because he's only going to his 2nd year, 4 out of 7 of them have been busts for the team, leaving Matt Stafford with either A, no protection, or B, no real weapon that they've taken in the 1st round. However, they have drafted a few good players later in the draft as of recently, like Kenny Galladay and Kerryon Johnson, who's not that great, but could be good. And for the O-line, they have Larry Warford, Riley Reif, Taylor Decker, and Frank Ragnow. Although they have drafted their fair share of busts, they have drafted some good players, but almost never in the 1st round, which is the pick you have to get correct. And for free agents, their biggest acquisition on the offense side of the ball are signing Nate Burleson, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, and Reggie Bush, with Golden Tate playing the best for the Lions. That offense with Golden Tate and Calvin Johnson was good, but it was not enough to win games, as again, there was no running game, and you can't just be a good offense with just a passing game. As a whole, the front office has made some questionable decisions in coaching, as well as their player acquisitions. These mistakes leave Stafford with almost nothing to work with except for the players I had just mentioned. But just having a passing game is not enough to win games these days. Ask the Saints. From 2014 to 2016, prior to the Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara era, Drew Brees led the league in passing yards all 3 years and having over 30 touchdowns all 3 years. But because of the lack of a running game, and what I'm about to get into, the Saints went 7-9 each season, kind of like the Lions have recently, except last year they were a lot worse than 7-9. I now would like to quickly point out the defensive struggles the Lions have had over the years, the biggest reason why they do not win games. In the 11 years with Stafford, the defense on average has allowed the 13th most yards and 13th most points, both obviously in the bottom half of the league, and it is very difficult for most good quarterbacks to lead a team to a lot of wins when you basically have to score every possession to stay in the game. The defense has never really had someone play consistently well for them for more than just a couple years, like DeAndre Levy and Ezekiel Ansah. Some exceptions to this are Darius Slay and Glover Quinn, both who are not with the team anymore, and Glover Quinn is just out of the NFL. However, they just drafted Jeff Okudah, who I think will be one of the best corners in the league in just a couple years, so I think he'll be very consistent for them for many years to come. My whole point with the last couple of minutes is that the team around Stafford has never been great, on the offensive side of the ball and defense, so really he has no opportunity to win. Stafford is very underrated, mostly because people think he can't win, but it's not his fault. His career record is simply not his fault. He's never had a good team. People don't think he's a top 10 QB in the league today because he has not proven he can win. When a situation is this bad around you, I really don't think any quarterback can win with how poorly the franchise has been run, the decisions made in it, the amount of talent he is presented with besides Calvin Johnson, meaning none. Besides Calvin, there's only been a couple weapons on the Lions in the past 11 years that really have been helpful to Matthew Stafford. So in reality, I think it is unfair to underrate Matthew Stafford and say he is not a top 10 QB, at least right now, and potentially top 15 of the decade, when he cannot be blamed for how unsuccessful the Lions have been during his tenure with them. To end this video off, my final stance is that Matthew Stafford is the most underrated quarterback of the last decade. In the past decade, he has had a ton of individual success. 7 seasons with over 4,000 yards, 1 and almost 2 over 5,000, and has 34 game-winning drives, proving he's a clutch player that can win. However, not even Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers most likely could win with this bad of a franchise and general manager and coaching decisions. Now, like I had previously said, I would not put him in the top 10 of the whole decade, but definitely top 10 right now, probably at number 10 or 9, while a lot of people have him towards the middle of the pack, or even worse than that. His talent is remarkable and has only shown great things when on the field after his first 2 seasons, because those first 2 seasons were not that great. Last season, he was in the MVP conversation if he had stayed healthy, and if they won games. But that's just due to how well he was performing, because he finally had something going right for him. He had a weapon that was actually good for the first time in years in Kenny Golladay. Now please blame everyone but him in the Lions organization, especially the Ford family as of recently, for everything bad that has happened to the Lions the past 11 seasons. And their whole history as well. To finish this off, Matthew Stafford is great. No questions asked. With all that being said, that is it from me, guys. Thank you for tuning into Fanatic Sports. Hope you all liked the video, and if you did, please subscribe and hit the like button. It only takes like 2 seconds. Also, follow me on Instagram @FanaticSports25 and on Twitter @FanaticSports. Now before I go, the past decade, who is your most underrated player?